Not like you, Jordan, I've got to write it down. I've got so much to be thankful for, and I thank God every day for it. My testimony is not one of wow or a Damascus Road experience, but a journey I've come on to know Jesus. I've been reminded many times before that no testimony is greater than another, for we've all been saved from darkness into light, from death to life, with an eternity with God. So I'm Sally. I'm married to Martin, who's one of the elders of this church. I grew up in a loving and caring home with my parents and brother, who weren't Christians. And from a young age, my parents encouraged us to go to Sunday school. After all, that was what happened then. I learned about who Jesus was and what he had done, and I felt very safe. This continued into my teens, and at 13, I was asked by my parents if I wanted to be christened, which I did, believing this to be right. During my later teens, I joined Campbell Wesley Church and became part of the youth club with young Christians there. At 18, I met Martin. We married when I was 20 at Campbell Wesley, and after a few years, we moved with his job to North Wales, where we stayed for 6 years, and we enjoyed that part of our lives. At this point, I drifted away from my faith, and as some of us can do when life is good and everything is going well, I was living a life of me-centred and living each day for myself. After this time, Martin's job came to an end, and we moved back to Cornwall in December 1995, and we were feeling unsettled, and we moved in with my parents. We bought our current home in Redruth in 1996, and Beth was born in 1997. We enjoyed life to the full and spent a lot of our weekends and downtime orienteering locally and nationally. My parents looked after Beth for a day a week when I went back to work, but suddenly, in September 2000, my dad died suddenly of a fatal heart attack in the night. There was no time to say goodbye, and it was a very hard time for me, with Beth only being about 3 years old. And what I will say, it's so important to tell those people that you know how much you love them when you can. God's hand was in all of this by bringing us back to Cornwall to spend those precious times with them, though I didn't recognise it then. And I thank God for those memories now. So still I was walking my own life. James was born in 2003 and completed our family. And I carried on in my own strength and did not have a living relationship with Jesus. So let's roll forward. Easter 2006. We attended our niece's dedication service in Huddersfield, and it was at that service that Martin heard the Lord speak to him and call him back to himself. Martin made a commitment to the Lord when he was 16, but he'd strayed away, and our lives changed after that. I can remember Martin talking to me, explaining how he had found the Lord again, and that his first love now was Jesus. But all I heard was, "I love Jesus more than you." This was something I found hard to hear after nearly 20 years of marriage. We now had 3 people in our marriage, and for a time, life was different. Yet I could see a dramatic change in Martin from the man I had married many years earlier. I have to say this was good, and I now saw a man who radiated love, patience, and kindness. He was indeed a new man. It was then that we started to attend Redruth Methodist Church. I knew that I had a faith, I believed in God, and I was doing good for others, but now recognised this was just not enough and realising I had not fully committed my whole life to Jesus. It was at Creation Fest that I fully understood this, as we heard a clear gospel message and were surrounded by people who were on fire for Jesus. And I knew then that I needed to fully commit my life and renewed my heart, this time fully to Jesus. For it's by grace you've been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God. A free gift for each one of us. It's our choice whether we accept it with all our heart. If you're here tonight and think that you can earn your way into heaven because you're a good person, then I'm sorry, you're sadly mistaken. From a child, I'd heard about Jesus coming as a baby at Christmas, how he had died for sins and risen again, but I can't recall ever being taught that he would be coming back to take his people with him. In 2007, when I was 40, I was suddenly taken ill and admitted to hospital, where I stayed for nearly a week before they decided to investigate further. That gave me time to reflect and think about where and who I was and what may happen. I somehow managed to find the strength to insist they take me to theatre the next day to find out what was happening and give me answers. After what should have been just an exploratory operation, a 3-hour operation took place, which left me very weak. The night after my surgery, I was at my lowest point, and I honestly didn't know if I would come through that night. I just lay in bed praying that I would see my children and Martin again. I had 6 months off work. It became a slow process to gain weight, strength, climb the stairs, and walk stronger again. He had other plans for me. Thank you, Lord, for saving me then and now. There have been times in my life where I've had to make quite significant direction changes, and I pray that the Lord would show me which way to go and what to do. At those times, I found myself in 3 different services at 3 different churches where the hymn, I, the Lord of Sea and Sky, was played. Coincidence or God incidence? It just spoke to me so personally each time. To me, it says it all. Here I am, Lord. It is I, Lord. I have heard you calling in the night. I will go, Lord, if you lead me. I will hold your people in my heart. I really felt the Lord speak to me so clearly during these times, holding and guiding me, that I really didn't have to make a decision. It was done for me. We need to surrender our whole lives daily, call out and let Jesus guide us through life, whatever that may hold. We don't know, but he does, and he does know what's best for us. We felt called to move to Redruth Baptist Church in January 2013, and this has been our spiritual home since then. As many have said before, we both felt that we'd come home when we walked through the door and were welcomed with open arms. Just one example of God's provision in my life came in January 2015, when Jill Green and I were working voluntarily for a new Christian care provision which was being set up. Both of us needed to find paid work, just to supplement what we were doing, but also to fit in with our current roles. So we sat, we prayed, and we prayed for openings to come that we could do both jobs. Shortly after praying, Alan, who's the CEO of the charity I now work for, came in and asked if we knew of anyone who was looking for part-time administrative work. Well, what an answer to prayer. And we told him we had been praying exactly that. His words were, my administrator has been taken out and we are needing help. Long story short, we were both offered work, myself in the office, Jill with the support work. What a God we serve. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. I know that throughout my life so far, the Lord has been with me, even when I haven't been made aware of him. He never left me, and neither will he leave you. If you allow him into your life, the rewards are eternal. You may have been coming to church for years and going through the motions of being Christian. But as Paul Brocklehurst often says, if the Lord was to come back tonight, would he take you to be with himself? You may be here for the first time wondering what all of this is about, but can I urge you to please speak to somebody before you leave? Today, if you hear his voice, do not harden your hearts. Thank you.